All right, we're live in full effect. Um, we're doing this live chat for all the people that are interested. The all two of you that are interested that are watching.
Any of those two.
Any of those two, right? That we need to come on the show, listen. If you got questions, you got anything, you want to talk about, just put it in the chat, and we'll get to that. First off is what are you doing, Kevin? Like you're in Las Vegas. You got all those medals in the background, man. You must have been busy over there
Oh no,
training
that's
and,
not
and
mine. That's
competing.
that's
Come on. Hey, don't lie. Don't lie about your medals, man. Tell us the truth
those
about you got two belts right there. Damn, you've been busy in the last
four.
four belt. Okay, four belts. You got four Naga belts. You got all kinds of medals. You must have been out there no-gi grappling and all of that wrestling. Everything is all good, huh? Out there in Vegas.
Nah,
Like,
nah,
how
nah.
is Vegas though? I mean, you were in Korea and you've seen what Korea is like, and then you go to Vegas and you see what Vegas is like. Like, what is it like? Like, what is the deal over there?
So I feel like Las Vegas has become the new Mecca. I mean, it's always been the capital city of the UFC, but it's been a lot busier. There's more fights than any time else since the pandemic, and the aura of how fighters train is just, kind of mind blowing and something that as a manager or fighter should take note into. You know what I mean?
Definitely, definitely. And like, what have you seen in like the way everything is going with fighters from all over? Because there's got to be fighters from all over the world right now, right?
Oh yeah, man. There's
Just
so many
crazy.
crazy. Like you see Italians, Canadians, Brazilians all over the world. I feel like I'm almost in Thailand.
Hmm.
Kind of a similar weather, kind of similar vibes, but obviously the goal and the intention that they come here for is completely different compared to Thailand, which is in Phuket, like Tiger Muay Thai, they only go there for training or for vacation holidays. But here in Vegas, you see a lot of fighters coming in just for a replacement for the UFC or just to live here and fight as often as possible because America is one of the only country in the world that's open for fighting and training. So you see a lot of movements coming in here.
Oh, definitely, definitely a lot of movements, and everybody's trying to take advantage of that, right? Everybody,
Oh yeah, yeah,
everybody is
100%.
they're waiting to jump in at any moment. We've seen it so many times, and you're at Syndicate, and you see so many fighters training there. They don't even have a contract; they're just there, pretty
Yeah, they're
much.
just there. I think I've seen like four guys get signed to the UFC in the last 3 months, and they're all just like 1 day notice, 2 days notice, and the shortest I've seen was 1 day notice, which is Chris Curtis. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
that fight fell off, but still the guy made weight. He took the opportunity, and now he literally just said like he beat poverty in 6 weeks. You see crazy things like this happen here in Vegas.
yeah, he's won $100,000 just on bonuses in the last two fights. Changed
Oh
his
man,
life.
definitely. He looks a lot happier. I should say that.
Oh, really? Like
Yeah,
he's changed now. He's not.
he used to be a little bit grumpy, but now he's all smiles, all happy. He's like, I'm gonna fight anyone,
All
and he's
right.
beat some good names. Let's say that.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys are watching, if you guys got some questions, put it in the chat, and we'll get to those questions. We're gonna talk about, of course, some of your fighters, right, that you have on your roster at Ruby, the Korean fighters. The first one is Jion Kim. Jion, she went into her last fight, with a new camp, with new coaches. She went out there and what did you think? What did you think about the fight? And just give us a recap of everything that went on.
And just overall, I think everything was just new in general, right? I mean, she got her new contract, her third contract with the UFC, and she changed her head coaches from wrestling coach, SNC coach. She has a nutritionist now for the first time, and she's never lived in the United States as long as she did before. And going back to the fight, I should say she has implemented 70% of the game plan that we have worked on, which is great results. Win, lose, or draw, as long as a fighter would implement what a coach asks them to do, then I think that itself is already a success. And I should say, like the night of the fight, I mean, during fight week, you can almost feel this energy coming off of your opponents, right? Like, are they scared? Are they nervous? Man, I don't think there was anyone that night that would have beat Paddy Pimblett and Molly McCann. Like I don't care who you were that night, like you would have lost to both of them just from the energy that they have given out. And looking back to the fight, Jion has evolved tremendously in a 4 months time. People think like, oh, you guys were there for 6 months. Yes, we were, but you also have to take in note that she was doing rehab for 2 months because she technically kind of broke her collarbone and ripped
Mhm.
her entire ligaments. So if you take in note in 4 months' time, if you have doubled up your stats from your previous fights and got fight of the night, I think that should speak something for itself, regardless of the results. And if we could have implemented one thing, like looking back, I think Jion should have wrestled more.
Mhm.
I really think. But also we wanted to make it a fun fight, like we've been saying all week, like it's gonna be fight of the night, fight of the night, fight of the night. Instead, I should have said performance of the night, and you're gonna win your first fight here by wrestling. But yeah, to take note, we should have changed a little bit more of the stuff. But other than that, I don't think Gion and I have regrets. It was one hell of a journey. We gave the fans the fight, and it was a back and forth war, and there's nothing I could ask for from a fighter rather than to fight their heart out.
Throughout the camp, right? It was like a 4 month camp. There must have been,
Yeah.
ups and downs, right? With Jion, like, what are some of
It
the things that happened that she probably wouldn't reveal to us?
it was so rough. The fight was supposed to be on May. She was getting prepared, and then that fell off because of her injury, obviously. And then they were saying, "Oh, it's gonna be in London." But then they're like, "Oh, it's not gonna be in London. It's gonna be in Vegas." Oh, it's gonna be back in London again. This thing was like going back and forth, and we were just stressing out over the fact that should we adjust to the time? Should we have people get ready for this things and that? And then all of a sudden we heard the news saying like the fight not fall off. So it was an emotional roller coaster, and also having such a big language barrier here in the United States for someone like Gion who does not speak English was another factor that was very difficult. And then when they finally said the flight's happening, but it's gonna be 3 weeks delayed, so technically you're having how many months of camp? 16 weeks, 14 weeks of camp. If you see someone like Leron Murphy because of his visa issue, he wasn't able to make it, but he had 13 weeks of camp and not got paid. So if you see those factors, it was such a roller coaster going up and down, up and down. And then when the finally, when the fight was on September 4th, everybody was just exhausted. I think Molly would have been exhausted herself. We were exhausted ourselves as well. And I should say the American people are not the most friendly people to live with or to stay in a country like this. So those things were the biggest factors that would have played out for ourselves. And she has not seen her family for 6 months. She spent a lot of money just to be in here. So those things I should say were the things that she has never revealed because as a fighter from Korea, all right, just from Korea itself, who spends like 60% of their income to train abroad? Name me one person aside from the zombie. No one.
Nobody.
Like nobody comes out to do camp here in the States or at least even in Thailand. Like people just go there for 2, 3 weeks and they think that's enough. So even that kind of a small challenge that people think it is was already a big thing for us. Like, hey, let's move to Vegas. And it happened in 2 weeks. I was like, hey, G, unpack your things. We got to move to Vegas.
I think, right now with fighters, you have to invest in yourself as much as you can, because when it's too late, it's too late, right?
Oh,
And you
yeah.
don't know what the results will be. I mean, you have to go after the best training, the best training partners, the best coaches for you. If it's not in Korea, and if it's not in Thailand, if it's not in China, wherever it is, I mean? Like, you got to go. And that's why even the Russians are going to America to train. You
Oh,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
You see, like,
So
how many Muslims how many, sorry, not Muslims, but how many Russians do you see here? Just at the PI an hour ago, I saw 4 Russians. Muslim Sadilov, I forgot he's the light heavyweight guy. And you go to American top team, Sanford MMA, which is absolutely crazy pricing there. Like, you think Vegas is expensive? Try Miami, all right? Try
mhm.
American top team. Try Sanford MMA. But you see these guys, like, investing in themselves. They don't talk a lot, the Russians, obviously, but they invest in themselves because they're kind of ahead of the game. And I can tell you as a factor that in Korea, you will never find the kind of training that you can find here in the States or anywhere else around the world. But what's going on with South Korea right now? Everyone's just stuck in the mud waiting for an opportunity that they know to themselves that's never gonna come.
Well, there is a couple promotions, putting on shows and or trying to put on shows, if it works out. There's a lot of, just like the UFC, I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen that could ruin matchups and even the whole show in itself. I mean, the UFC was trying to put a show in London. It never happened. You know what I mean?
Never
Like
happened.
it happens to the regional shows too. And what is it? You got a couple guys signed to, what was it? In Kazakhstan. What was it?
No, nice FC.
Yeah, Nice FC, right? But
Yep.
they haven't fought yet over there,
They
right?
haven't fought. I mean, they were offered fights
Yeah.
still. At least the wheels are rolling.
Who are they? Like, who are the fighters?
One is Yu Young. He was the first
Uh-huh.
one that got signed, and the other one was Yen Amsa. And they had a good contract. Nice FC was more than generous to give them high purse, and also said if the UFC ever calls you, we're more than happy to let you guys go. Things
Mhm.
like that. So you got things like that, but still, it's not enough in my opinion.
Well, they gotta fight. They gotta continue to try to test their skills, right? They can't just, there's that thing about fighters like competing and going out and competing and continually competing, even if they lose. You know what I mean? Because it's not about undefeated records anymore. You could
No, no,
lose
no, no.
and
This is
and
not
still get,
boxing.
yeah. It's not boxing. You could lose and still come back and get signed by major promotions. But then there's guys um, that are kind of like waiting for their chance, you know what I mean? And
You
they're
want me to
waiting
name
on this
them?
dream. Yeah,
You want
who
me to
are
name
they?
them? I
Yes.
mean, one good example is Jong Young Lee or Lee Jong Young, the former Road FC featherweight champion. Like, how long has it been since he's fought? All he's asking for is an opportunity in the UFC, but is he making the right progress? Is he making the right decision? Is he doing the right thing to actually to be signed in the UFC? Aside from outside of his skill set, he's talented, he's young, he's fucking good. I'll tell you that. But is he making the right move? Is the main question we have. Instead, he's sitting down in the mud. First of all, he's out of the topology rankings. All right. He hasn't fought in 2 years, which means ring rust will exist in there. And third, he's just waiting on opportunity that he knows is not just gonna come by sitting down in a chair and texting people.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is like, have we seen any fighters get signed by the UFC? You know what I mean? Because that's where he most likely wants to go. He's expressed that, right? He wants to go to the UFC. Have we seen any fighters that have just stayed in Korea and get signed by the UFC during the
No one,
COVID?
no one, no,
No
no
one,
one.
right?
The last guy to be signed to the UFC was Junyoung Park, and that was in Shenzhen UFC 2019 of August. That was the
Yeah,
last
and
signing.
and he's fought like 4 or 5 times already for the
Oh
UFC,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
I mean, the
So
UFC will give you fights. That's not the
yeah.
problem. If you're under contract with them, they will live up to their contract and expectations, right? But Lee Jong Young, Minwoo Kim, and Lee Chang Ho, I mean, he's undefeated. All these guys, they're just sitting down and not fighting. But if you watch people like Yu Su Young, Red Horse, who recently fought in Russia, these guys like are taking risks. They know that they have a clean record, right? The other guy's 10-2, the other guy's 7-1, and they're all on a winning streak. But they put it on the line not to make it to the UFC, but to test themselves in battle and to see how far they have come during this pandemic. Now they both lost, but I was like I always say, and like what you just said, it's not about the wins and the losses. It's about showing your potential of how far you can go by testing yourself. But all these Korean fighters are just sitting down there like, hey, I want to make it to the UFC. I think I'm ready for this. But if you really think you are ready for yourself, by yourself, like talking to yourself, asking yourself, and you say yes, then why not invest in yourself, right?
That's true. But then there's also the problem of like finances, right? Like they don't have the money to invest in themselves.
I
That's a
think that's
problem.
I don't know. I personally think that's an excuse. Just speaking out of those three names that I've just named, I know financially they're okay to invest. I mean, to invest on a P1 visa for the United States is $5,000. What's the minimum income of South Korea? Right? It's $3,000. And Lee Jong Young has a great sponsorship. I mean, he has a car for fuck's sakes. Minu has one of the most successful gyms. Can't speak for Lee Chang Ho since I don't really know about him, but those just from those three names, that's an excuse. That's my humble opinion, and I could say that to their faces as well. Like you're not making the right move, and you telling me that financial is a problem in your perspective, it just means you don't really believe in yourself that much.
Well, it's clear that if you're in Korea, you're most likely not going to get signed by the UFC if you stay there.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's hey, there are ways to get signed to the UFC. There really is. Just because the pandemic hit, that doesn't mean the opportunities are gone. You know what I mean? There are still ways.
I think you have to do what everybody else is doing is move to Vegas and
Move to
live
Vegas
there
and stay
and
here.
train there and have somebody there that's gonna kind of get you into the door somehow. You know what I mean? Because there's managers all over the place, right? It's not just you there. There's a bunch of them.
It's not just me. There's first round management. Like just at Syndicate MMA, there's two managements that come in. One is Iridium. Lance, I personally like the guy. I think he's one of the best agents in the world. And you got Ruby Sports and Entertainment coming constantly, going in and out, in and out. You go to Extreme Couture, the same thing. There's a lot of managers from First Round, Iridium, Ruby Sports, and Soccer Punch. You know what I mean? Dominance MMA is there.
They all live there, right? They all
Yeah, they
have
all live
offices
there.
there.
It's like NFL drafting. Like agents go around scouting for fighters. Like you're the
And it's the
fish.
easiest now. It's the easiest
It's
because they're all coming
it,
to Vegas.
it's so fucking easy. Like you have a clean record of 10-2 and be like, hey, I want to sign with you guys. Then talk to your manager or talk to whoever you think is the best manager for you. Sign the papers, get your documents, and then move to Vegas. I promise you, in 3 months of time, I think one or two guys will be signed.
Oh yeah, we've seen it. We've seen guys get
How
signed,
many how
you
many guys
know.
have I seen just in at Syndicate itself? I saw three already.
And you
You know
could
what I
get
mean?
fights on the regional scene in America too, possibly, because there's always shows all over the place.
Just 20 minutes ago, I'm seeing the owner of my house, Jake Sage. She's also an agent in Ruby Sports, like getting fight offers. Titan FC, LFA. You know what I mean? Invicta is coming back. You have all these opportunities in here. So would you rather sit down and wait for an opportunity that's almost slim to none, or would you rather take a risk? I say take a risk because starting MMA itself was already a risk. You know what I mean? Just keep rolling the dice.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's a couple shows going on, right? There's AFC is about to happen real soon. That's an opportunity to fight and, you know, grow your record. Double G is going to happen in I think next week, and you got Beast going on with their deal with their partnership with Brave,
With Brave,
and Road is, I guess Road put out their schedule for next year. They're going to actually have a few shows, big shows, and then they're going to have the ARC events. Those are all opportunities for fighters um, to get experience, to get paid somewhat, and but then it's also depending on like what kind of contract you have with these shows, right? Like
uh,
what is like the
never
thing
sign
that's
with
going
Road
on.
FC. That's the that's the get go, right? Never sign with Road FC because you will be their slave. You will be Road FC slave.
Well, it's just,
But
but the thing is that the thing is like there's probably some truth to that, but then there's also examples of like Lee Jung Young that he got out of his contract. You know, there's a few other guys that actually have left Road FC and signed with different promotions. So it's not like really. It all depends on like I guess your contract, right? If whoever's handling your business, I think that's important,
oh
right?
yeah,
Whoever's handling your business, because you could sign with certain promotions. Like if you see like Pak Xiu, she's from Team Mad, right? She's over in Japan fighting. She's fighting in Ryzen. She's fighting in Rena.
hey, hey, I'll tell you what. She got fucking balls. She made one of the best career moves from 2019 till 2021. Look how many fights she's had in Japan. You think it's
Yeah,
easy for her to stay there and live there? Of course not. What did she do? She literally packed up and told her head coach and said, hey, I'm moving to Japan with my boyfriend. She's had like 5 or 6 fights, right? She was on the Grand Prix,
yeah.
and now she's gonna be on the
New Year's
New
Eve
Year's event. Bro, that's a big fucking event
against one of the biggest stars,
from Japan.
Japanese MMA stars, like from Japan. It's
Exactly.
just insane. Like what kind of opportunity she got just from flying over to Japan and just staying there, training with I believe she trains with Killer Bees.
Seigo Yamamoto. Yeah.
Yeah,
Killer Bees.
Killer Bees, like Miyu Yamamoto, and like the whole squad over there. But yeah, once you're training there, they see you win, they give you fights, they're gonna give you opportunities, man. I think that's a huge difference from because I think that could lead her to the UFC faster than any
Anybody
fighter
else?
that's staying in Korea, any
No,
woman fighter.
anybody
You know
else.
what I mean? And it all,
She wins.
yeah. Go ahead.
She wins 1 or 2 fights in Ryzen. I honestly think she could make it to the UFC, and it's not like she's shit as well. She's good.
Yeah. Or she could sign with one championship, and it all depends on what she wants, right? If she wants to go to the
Yes.
UFC, there's a different way. If she wants to go to one championship and get signed, and you see a couple of the Korean fighters in one championship right now doing really
Oh, they're
well.
killing it. They're
Yeah,
killing
and
it.
probably
Yeah.
getting paid way more than they would if they signed to the UFC, right?
Eh, no.
Come on, man. If you think about
No,
it, the
no, no,
UFC
no.
Contender Series contracts, everybody knows those are the
No,
trash
no, but here's the
contracts.
thing. Here's a debate. Like, what contract are they on? Are they on the first contract, second contract, third contract?
Well, come on.
Maybe.
There's a difference. Like let's start like first level contract with the UFC. Let's say you go to Contender Series, win the Contender Series, you're getting 10 and 10.
10 and 10.
That's not very good.
Venom
But
bonus,
if you have a
discretionary
big
bonus,
name, what bonus?
discretionary bonus, venom bonus, food
Yeah, but
money, all these.
let's just talk about what's in front of us, right?
Okay, the
Not like
flat money. All right.
behind the scenes bonuses don't really matter to us, right? We want to know
Okay.
what they're getting flat fee because you're not
Okay.
guaranteed bonuses every fight. You know what I mean? There's no
Mm.
guarantee of that, right? But Contender Series, like nobody really wants to go through the Contender Series. They do because they want to get to the UFC, and there's some like
But that's
sacrifice
the
you have to
hard way.
make. But that's the hardest way. There's like the first way is like Contender Series. The second way is the Ultimate Fighter, and then the third way is just to get signed outright by the UFC. The best way to do it is to get signed outright by the UFC because the starting salary is much higher compared to the Ultimate Fighter or what is it, the Contender Series, right? But not everybody can get signed directly, especially from another country. Like if you're not based in the US, it's much harder,
It's
right?
almost impossible. But yes, going back to Park Ji-woo, those opportunities would not have come if she was just stuck in Korea, right?
Exactly. She would have had no fights in the last couple of years.
Those 4
Maybe
fights
she
would
would
have
have
been in
fought
2 years.
for somebody locally, but that doesn't really, it does something, but doesn't really do as much as fighting on New Year's Eve against
Yeah,
Venus.
exactly. That's a big card. And then if you look throughout the Korean history of female MMA, Han So-yi and Jion Kim, they both made their names in deep before
Yeah.
making it somewhere else, right? And she's making the same path as those 2 girls that has made it to the UFC.
Korean Zombie
So,
too. You know what I mean? Kim
oh yeah,
Dong-yeon,
yeah.
Stun Gun too, same
Doo-ho
thing.
Choi,
Yeah,
all of them.
they all did.
So she's making the right path, and all props to her. I wish a lot of more people were just like her.
Yeah, you guys take the sacrifice, man. You can't sit around and think. I think a lot of fighters, and it's just not in Korea. It's like every country has fighters like this where they're just like, oh, I'm a fighter, and oh yeah, I want to go to the UFC, but they're not doing anything about it. They're just sitting around. They just take fights. You know what I mean? They're not really taking control of their career, and that is the problem. I think the pandemic just made that worse, and it made a lot of fighters kind of give up on their dreams, right?
I mean, it's a good
But there
excuse,
is a
right?
way to get there. It's just they gave up on it because of the pandemic, and it's understandable in some ways.
I mean, to be fair, the sport of MMA itself is already hard enough, and then the pandemic made it even a lot harder, right? So I should say it's a good excuse as well. And I'm not shitting on the 3 names that I have mentioned. Obviously, they all have their own personal problems and their own thoughts, but it's like, can you please stop telling people that you will make it to the UFC when people know you're just sitting down on the couch and not doing anything? Is what I'm trying to say. But if you try to get your visa and then let's say that got declined, then at least you're trying, right? At least you're doing the right move to make it to the United States and actually get signed to the UFC. But stop talking if you're not doing anything is just my point. And I'm telling you, these 2 guys, Jong Young Lee and fucking Minwoo Kim, could be one of the best prospects out of South Korea.
But both guys haven't fought in years, right?
In 2 years, both of them are out of the
Yeah,
Topology rankings.
yeah.
And
Nobody knows.
I'm saying this out of frustration because I know how good they are. They're like world beaters. You know what I mean? But it's like, come on, dude, you're wasting your talent. Ring rust exists and your prime is going away. Those 2 things matter. And you need activity. And guess what? People will forget you in the sport real quick.
Yeah, and let's talk about like UAE Warriors, right? UAE Warriors has been an avenue for some fighters, right? It's there you've
Oh
sent
yeah.
a few fighters out there. So has some of the other Korean coaches. And they've went out there, they've done really well. You know, what I mean, they've done pretty good matchmaking for the Korean fighters.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and they've shined. You know what I mean? And they're gonna make way more money than they would compared to
Ever.
fighting in Korea, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's on a bigger stage. I think UAE Warriors next year they're gonna be on UFC Fight Pass, I believe.
Oh yeah. They're gonna be on UFC Fight Pass.
Right? So that avenue is going to be huge for whoever can get over there. And there's not many guys that can send you over there. It's not like you could call UAE Warriors right now and tell them like, "Hey man, I'm 15-0. I want to fight on your card." It doesn't work that way. There's
No.
politics. There's a lot of
Obviously.
politics going on everywhere.
Hey, UAE Warriors, it's an absolutely. I love UAE Warriors. Like anytime they say, "Hey, can you come to Abu Dhabi?" No problem. I would even pay for my own flight tickets. They treat the fighters so well. They take care of you so well financially. They're so well proper. Like all these little things that matter for fight week, they do it all for you. And the matchups that they give you is more than fair for both sides. Like the other guy might think it's a good matchup for him. For us, we might think it's a good matchup. And obviously the Koreans have like 2020, we tore it. You know what I mean? I think I went like 6-0 with them at one point. So even this kind of stuff, like UA Warriors love the Koreans because they always come and fight. Tell me one time a Korean has had a shitty performance there.
Oh,
Maybe the
Moon
last one. Okay, that was pretty shit, but I mean the odds of us fighting.
But he was coming off a long layoff too, remember?
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing I'm always telling them. I can't have you guys lay off more than a year. But then at the same time, I don't want to be this dickhead manager that's just gonna force you to fight. You know what I mean? I still give them the freedom, but look, Kang Kyung-ho, Jion Kim, Gibbon Moon, Red Horse, Yu Su-young, Do Gyum Lee. All seven of these guys had at least 1 year layoff. And look how they performed. They can fight, but they can't really perform the way they used to. Why? Because ring rust exists. So
Yeah, so
now imagine someone with a 2 year layoff out of topology rankings fighting out of nowhere in UA Warriors. How would that turn out? I mean, they say don't do MMA math, but time matters in this sport.
yeah, it does. Definitely does. And the matchups matter, all of that stuff. Yeah, UA Warriors, I think that's a good avenue for Korean fighters to go out there and face international talent, because it's always important to face international talent. You could fight in Korea for 100 years and
And stay undefeated.
you could kind of be fighting the same guy 10 times in a row. If
Yeah,
you know what I'm
we
saying.
have some matchups like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like, and then there's also Eagle FC. They're starting to grow. I think they're going to start signing fighters internationally. What's up with the Red Horse? Like Red Horse, he had a good streak going on, and then
Yep.
he went to RCC. What do you think about his fight and where he's going with his career?
If I would send anyone confidently to the UFC, it would be Red Horse. He would be my number one pick if that makes sense. He's anti-Russian. You know what I mean? Like wrestling, he has no problem. Striking wise, it could back up with his offensive wrestling. I had a conversation with Red Horse about when I was back in Korea 3 months ago, saying like you can't, because UA Warriors tried to sign him on a multi-fight deal, but that fell through because of his injury. He popped his knee when he was supposed to fight. Who's the guy from Elevation?
No. Red Horse was supposed to fight him.
Yeah, he was supposed to fight someone from Elevation. He's Dominance MMA. He used to fight in Bellator.
I don't know. You would
And
know better than me.
I forgot. I mean, I have so
Mhm.
much offers. I forgot the name, but UA Warriors said fight him on March. We'll give you a multi-fight deal, and it's UFC exclusive. Like if the UFC calls you, you can go. And
Mhm.
the money he was gonna get paid was good. And with Red Horse, he was offered a really good fight in RCC with the biggest payday of his life. Win, lose, or draw. It was the biggest pay of his life. And I'm sorry, my friend bothered me, so my head kind of rushed.
Mhm.
So two things Red Horse always wants is a big name and a good purse. He doesn't care where and when. That name came in, Timur Nagivin. I honestly thought he would have beat him from deep inside my heart and inside my mind. Fight was going well until he decided to be Justin Gaethje in the middle of the fight. I talked to him after the fight. He said, I've always been telling Red Horse you should fight like Colby Covington, which he is. Like he's the Gimvington, right? His wrestling is good, phenomenal. Have you ever seen Timur Nagivin get taken down on the first attempt? Never. Made it look easy on the ground, but he decided to be just engaged. uh, with Red Horse, I know he's gonna come back up. I wish he would fight in Europe in Octagon early next year, go on a winning streak again. So I'm planning to keep him as busy as possible early next year till summer, because in summer we have some good news coming in.
All right. Well, I think with Red Horse, like he's clearly talented, right? He's clearly a good fighter. I just think that he needs coaching and he needs training partners.
Oh, oh yeah, dude. He's not had a head coach the last 2 years, and he still fought the number three ranked Russian that trains with Peter Yan. You know what I mean? So all props to him, but I need those things changed. Like, hey, you need to get a head coach. You need to start having not your own team, but a head coach guiding you with proper
Mm.
training partners. And if not, you should move abroad. But obviously, he opened up his own gym. So
A little, see, that's kind of something that might be holding him back from, taking advantage of those things. Yeah. So with Red Horse, I mean, he could be fighting for another European promotion later on this year. I mean, it's just a setback, man. It's not like he could win one more and he could get signed by the UFC. That's how the world works now. You don't have to be on a 10-fight winning streak anymore.
yeah, I mean, there are some Russians that are on a 25 winning streak and still not getting signed, right? But
Yeah.
it's just about different markets. The UFC, I feel like, is still interested with Korea, and they know for a fact that the Korean fighters are the best in Asia. I mean, I can't wait. Never mind. Since China had UFC champion, it can be an
Mm.
ongoing discussion. But they know we're one of the best in the world, so they should look out for talent. And obviously, in 155, it's gonna be Red Horse.
Yeah. So Red Horse, we could see him. That's another avenue of a promotion, right? Is Octagon. You guys have some connections there. I've seen you guys
Oh
send
yeah.
some other fighters from Ruby to Octagon. Those are some good matchups, good experience. You know what I mean? Outside of Korea,
Oh,
outside of whatever country you're living in. Yeah. So Octagon is another avenue that you guys have. We got a question here from Tristan. Do you guys believe Taoan Jung deserves a top 15 opponent? What do you think?
oh yeah. I think he should already be in top 15. Look at the guys he beat. You know what I mean? And name me one Asian guy, one Asian fighter that has ever been on a four-fight winning streak in the UFC. From
No.
185 till 265, none. And the way he beats him also is like, damn, you did not expect that shit coming, you know? So
He
yes, I think he deserves top 15. Not top 15, I think he's already top 15.
he's right there on the edge. He's like in the
Yeah, he's
15 to
right there.
20 range. You know what I mean? I think that they should give him a guy that's maybe the 15th ranked fighter I think Jimmy Crute, is he light heavyweight?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
light heavyweight.
I think
Yeah,
Jimmy
yeah.
Crute, he's like ranked number 14 or 15. I think that should be his next fight. Jimmy Crute. I think Jimmy Crute would be a good fight. And then if he beats Jimmy Crute, because I think that's still a
He
good
should be in
test,
top 15
he'll be ranked. Dao Jung, I've always said it. I've always said he's the best prospect in Asia right
out of
now.
Korea.
No,
Yeah,
in Asia.
number one.
Number one in
Number one.
Asia. I think he's the
No
best
doubt.
prospect. He's not contender yet, but he's right. Look
He
at him.
can
He
get
hasn't
there.
lost in the UFC. He had that fucked up fight against
Sam Alvey
Sam
fight.
Alvey, but
But that's bullshit. I think
yeah,
that's
yeah,
bullshit. He
yeah.
won
That was
that
a
fight.
bullshit fight. Yeah, that was a bullshit fight. And I think like sometimes fighters they perform differently in each fight. I think like Sam Alvey caught Taung Jung on a bad day, and he still went to the draw and probably still won the fight. You know what I mean? Just he caught him on that
Yeah.
day, right? But every other fight, if you've seen him, he remember William Knight? He fucking took William Knight down and dominated him on the
Oh yeah.
ground. And William Knight sparks dudes, like he's knocking dudes out easy. Taung Jung went there, beautiful game plan, executed it. Great job with that.
Made it look
He's one
easy.
of the
Dude,
best
he made it
prospects
look
out
easy.
there. Yeah, he's one of the best prospects out there in Asia. Also, going back to your fighters, Red Horse. So he's taking the L, but he's right back on the horse, and he's going to be
Yep.
fighting in 2020 sometime. What's going on with Pak Poyon? What's the status with her?
So Park Boyan, Combates has already offered a fight for November 9th, which was last
Mm-hmm.
month. But in middle of training, she got her visa already. She has her visa. She can come to the States anytime she's ready. But she popped her neck, or I should say, she cracked her neck almost to the point where she needed surgery. So she technically she vacated her double G belt, thinking she would be signed to a major promotion in the States. So that's a setback that she's having right now. But I think she'll be back early next year, March or February.
So it doesn't really matter if she has the belt because she's injured. Like it's gonna take a while to get back,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And then I think she was more than professional enough to like kind of let go of the belt. Even the promotion
Mhm.
did her like in a dirty way. But yeah, Boyne Park, she's
So
gonna be back soon.
so that's why the belt is vacant. You know what I mean? I don't know if everybody knows the story, but the belt is vacant. They're gonna have two women fight for that belt in
So
next week.
hey, yeah, next week. So what's funny is Gibbon Moon is fighting for the interim belt because Hong Junyoung is injured, right? And whatever, like, all right, that's none of my business. But Boyan Park is injured too, so technically that should be an interim belt, or at least for the number one contender spot, not vacate the belt just because she's injured, and just because we were honest enough to them and said, hey, we might actually go sign to a different organization.
But does it
So yeah,
matter
I
with
think
the
that
contracts and stuff?
no, it doesn't matter. I mean, Korea has no contract at all, anyways. But
Mhm.
come on, dude, that's not how you treat your fighter that has done you, well enough. Well, anyways,
You
that's
know,
just my opinion.
two
I
sides
think
of
they
the
were a bunch
story,
of
right? There's two sides
no,
to
I,
the
I still
story.
think they were a bunch of rats. I
Mhm.
still think they're a bunch of fucking rats.
Okay. Now, who else is
Oh, am
there?
I not allowed to curse?
No, you could curse. There's
All right, all
there's
right.
no anything. Like I cursed earlier. I said fuck. You know what I mean? Fuck, fuck, fuck.
Okay,
Doesn't
okay.
matter. But yeah. So with Park Bo Young, she's injured, so she's sidelined. She's gonna have to get that neck fixed, and that's something that is very delicate situation, right? Neck injuries are
Yeah.
not something you should just be like rushing back into. So
I
her,
mean, look at Sterling.
her talking about what is it? Her vacating the belt doesn't fucking matter. It does not matter at all
Yeah.
because when she gets back healthy, she's on a win streak. She's a former champ. She will get signed stateside by somebody. Invicta, Combates, whoever, right? There's a lot of promotions probably looking out for her, and seeing what she can do. Who
And
else
she's
is
only
there?
20-year old.
Yeah, she's only 20 years old, right? She's doing, she's taking the Pak Shiyu route, right? Going somewhere else and chasing after some titles. Let's see some more questions. Okay, we got a good one. Okay. Taegyun
Oh,
Kim
we
going
got
to
Tegan
UFC.
Kim.
That's the old, you know him, and like that's the big question always, right? Taehyun Kim's out there killing it at Brave, right? Killing the lightweight division. I don't even know why he's not even fighting for the title yet. Doesn't make any
I get
sense.
goosebumps talking about him.
Yeah, so he's a beast, right? Everybody that doesn't know, he is
Yeah.
one of the best fighters in Korea, flat out, straight up,
Flat out,
flat
he's
up,
a
straight
fucking
up, one of the
gangster.
best, like all around. Just he reminds me of Colby Covington in some ways, right? Just and then his ground skills are just crazy. Like he's like a
Like
I don't
Tony
know. He just
Ferguson.
rolls around, does it like he's just insane, right?
I,
So he's action packed.
So when I said like if I my number one pick would be Kyung Kim, Red Horse, right? And I'm only saying this because he's a freelance fighter that has the opportunity, like he's free to go anywhere, anyways. But with taking Kim is under contract with Brave for the next 3 years and 6 months, and Brave is taking care of him very well. I can guarantee you this. Like he makes some good money there, and obviously the matchups and the promotion like pushes him, gives him co-main event spot, main event spot. So to answer your question, Sam Cake, I don't think Tegan Kim is going to the UFC yet. And me personally, I wish to see him on the PFL instead of the UFC.
Yeah, the
That's just
PFL wouldn't be that bad because he's still young too, right? He could go to the
oh yeah,
PFL, fight for the
he's
PFL,
like 27.
try to chase after that $1 million, and if it happens, and if it doesn't happen, he could still get signed by the UFC. People think like if
He's
you go to
good.
PFL, that means you're not going to go. There's so many guys that went to the PFL that went to the UFC, and vice versa, UFC to PFL. So it's not like
Yeah,
it can't
exactly.
happen. Bellator too, you know what I mean? Bellator for some reason they're not signing Korean fighters, and I just don't know
So
why.
I was in Bellator on December 3rd for Oliver Enkamp's fight, right?
Yeah,
I'm
what did they
telling you,
say?
I really want to send someone to Bellator. Like, I'm like, dude, this is like the second largest promotion in the world. I want to have someone here. Like,
They treat
um,
the fighters good.
yeah,
All
they
the
treat you well.
fighters,
I
that's what
told you,
they say.
dude, I was doing quarantine and they paid me $100 per day just to do quarantine. Where do you see a
Well, that's
promotion
per
do that?
diem. That's per diem. That's not paid for
Okay,
quarantine.
that's just me. I was happy with that. But
Yeah.
yeah, they pay you well, and dude, they did the show in Mohegan Sun, right? That was fucking big. That was huge. When Sergio Pettis and Horiguchi fought, that was a big card.
Yeah, you were there.
Oh, there's
You were there for
Horiguchi.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Hype
Horiguchi. Yeah.
MMA. Shout out to Hype MMA. He's always in the chat. So Bellator is like that's something that I'm pretty sure you and your management group is trying to work out to send some Korean fighters to Bellator. It's just like the thing is that they have never signed any Korean fighters. None. I haven't seen none on the roster. Except for Benson
John.
Henderson, and he's only half Korean.
Yes, here's the thing. And he's former UFC champion, so it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, he's a legend of the lightweight division. Let's just
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I'm in this sport to make history. Like I was the first Korean to send a fighter to UAE Warriors Brave, and now I have the one and only female South Korean in the UFC, right?
Mhm.
And obviously that's something I would want to accomplish, which is first fighter to Bellator and the first PFL fighter to win the tournament that's out of South Korea. And so yeah, things like that. But again, it's up to the fighters. It's not really up to me. But if the opportunity comes, obviously, I would love to send two people there and then call it off a career if that
Yeah,
makes
what
sense.
is PFL doing though? Like what they're doing some kind of like
Challenger
contender
series.
series. Oh, it's called Challenger Series. So it's kind of like the
Dogam Lee
Strike
is
Force
going there.
Challenger Series. Oh, Dogam Lee is going there to Challenger
Yeah,
Series.
yeah. We
Where are
just
those
signed a
events
contract.
happening? In the States?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be in Miami. So the first season is gonna be on February 18th. It's gonna
Mhm.
be featherweight first, and then it's on a three-fight deal. Like Mike Tyson's gonna be there commentating. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly haven't read the entire contract because it's like 27 pages, but it's like building people up and be like, oh, I guess you're ready for the Grand Prix of the tournament.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
have you there. And obviously, man, PFL pays you really good as well.
yeah. Well, you get to win $1 million if you win the whole thing. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah, but just to even be on the playoff, you're making a
yeah,
lot of money.
yeah, that's true. So you got Dogyeom Lee or Lee Dogyeom, the former UAE Warriors champion. He's gonna go over
Yep.
there. They already have the Falcon, right? What's his name? What's the Falcon's name?
Falcon Cho Sung-bin.
Oh, Cho Sung Bin's already over there. He's already in the tournament, so we'll probably see him most likely in the tournament next year again, because
Yeah,
usually
yeah.
they go back to back, right? And they seem to like him. You know, what I mean, he had a good fight too.
Oh, yeah, the war.
Who else do you think would possibly somebody that could be in that Challenger series, like that's in Korea?
As of now, if it was bantamweight, I would send Yu Young. I mean, I think
Mm,
he would do okay there, but obviously the PFL doesn't have bantamweight there. They
bantamweight,
start from
yeah.
featherweight. Uh,
You want to
Red
send
Horse.
Red Horse over there, right? Get him another fight, and then if he wins, maybe try to send him to Miami.
Yeah, but the thing is, I'd rather have if just me personally, all right. I'd rather see him in the Grand Prix instead of the
Mhm.
Challenger Series. I think he can beat any of them. Like when he was supposed to fight Islam Mamedov, I was very confident he was gonna beat Islam Mamedov. I mean, he was the finalist. Technically, he's the finalist, right? He went to semifinals with the two-time finalist Rodick or Lodick.
Oh, that dude's a beast.
Oh yeah, but I think Red Horse beats him.
Yeah, well, so Red Horse or not, Red Horse. I think he's focused on getting another fight, probably in Europe or something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so we got Ido Gyum going to PFL Challenger Series. I think if they open up some of the weight classes, you could probably send some of the guys over there from Korea. Some of the guys that are fighting right now. I think, there's a few, but we have a lot of lower weight fighters, right? That are good prospects. A lot of lower weight, like bantamweight, flyweight, even. And what do you do with the flyweight guys? Is Contender Series Asia coming back or anything? Because I think that would be the perfect spot for like the lower division fighters to fight.
So as of now, I feel like Contender Series is my ex-wife. We're trying to get back together. I've
Mhm.
tried to have the Contender Series Asia happen for the last 2 years. It's been off like three times in a row, right? Oh, we're gonna do it. Oh, it's not happening. Oh, we're gonna do it. It's not happening. But I feel like 2022 early summer or late summer is gonna come back, and I hope they do it in Shanghai because then it solves a lot of problems that we're facing right now to make it happen. But oh man, I got Hyun Park. He's fighting for the belt next week in Double G. He's 4-0. He's about to be 5-0 if he beats this guy. And I feel like flyweights are the easier market. There
Mhm.
isn't a lot of flyweights around the world, and obviously Brandon Moreno has revived the division, and now it's more than ever. We got Yedam Saw. A lot of people forget who Yedam Saw is. He had a war with Zhang Weili right before Weili Zhang got signed to the UFC. She's coming back right after her knee surgery, so we can expect to see her on February as well. And obviously Boyan, but with Boyan, I'd love to take my time with her since she's only 20 year old. She and her only loss was against Itsuki Hirohita, the ONE FC girl.
Yeah, Hirata.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So she's another
Yeah,
good
but
name that we
also
can look
Poyon,
for.
she has the she's only 20, so she's gonna grow into becoming maybe a strawweight eventually, right? She
Yeah,
has
yeah.
the
I wanna see her like bulk up a bit.
yeah, because she doesn't seem like she carries around extra weight. Like she's pretty lean
Nah,
all the time.
she's small.
Yeah,
But hey,
so
but you know one thing I was surprised with? I saw Rose Namajunas the other day, and she wasn't really that big as well.
mhm.
So she's almost there in making in that weight category, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you've seen Loma, she put on some pretty solid muscle in a short
Oh yeah,
time.
yeah,
So
yeah. So
so
it's not
it's not
impossible to make that
impossible, yeah.
happen.
So if you're an atom weight, you could always go up to straw weight. There's been many atom weights that went up to straw weight and fought for the UFC. It's common, right? Especially when you're young too. It's probably the best because you could use like a professional to help you gain the weight properly and add muscle.
Properly,
And yeah, that's the most important thing. Not just go to McDonald's and eat, hamburgers every day and shit.
yeah.
Right. So Contender Series Asia, hopefully it's gonna happen in the summer. And you want it to happen in Shanghai, but most likely it's not going to happen in Shanghai because we know the situation. I heard like some stuff going on there that maybe that place is not going to be filled with people except for Chinese people, no foreigners. So most likely it's going to happen in Vegas, right? Because Vegas is the spot. They have the apex. It's just so easy for them to do it and just have everybody fly in if they can.
Yeah.
So that's good news for the Korean fighters, right? Like if they do have it in the summer, that gives them enough time to maybe get a fight or two in and show that they still
We still
got
have
it.
time.
Yeah.
We still have time, 6 months. And like I said, with Red Horse, there was a lot of I have had a lot of hate just to book him in just because I booked him in Russia. It's like, oh, why
Yeah.
did you book him when it was the most important time of his career? But it's like, would you rather have someone on a 2 year layoff and then fight for the biggest career? I mean, the biggest fight of his career, which is the Contender Series or even the UFC, or would you rather see him lose and then pick out where he was wrong, fix those things, go back on a winning streak, and then sign there? So we still have time for the Contender Series, and
Yeah, I
it's Asia
think Red
versus
Horse,
Asia.
he's not like old either, you know what I mean? Like he's still young.
He's 28. I
Yeah,
mean, he's
he's
still
28. That's
young.
still very young, you know what I mean? Like in a 6 month period, a lot of things can change with a
A
fighter.
lot
We've
can
seen
change.
it with many fighters in the last year. Like nobody knew who they were, and then boom, like 6 months later, they have 100,000, 200,000 Instagram followers.
Yeah, Chris Curtis.
Yeah,
He's like my motivation for the fighters. One day you have $10 in your bank account, and then the next thing you know, you have $100,000. That's the
yeah.
name of MMA. It's like stock market. It goes on and off, on and off, on and
Exactly. But you have to
off.
have the yourself positioned right and make the right moves. But I think one of the moves that like most fighters in America are not taking is just sitting around and like waiting for their opportunity and
No,
not
no, no,
competing.
no.
They're trying to compete, right? Even if it's not in the UFC, they're trying to get fights because they have to get paid too at the same time and
Yeah,
see if what they're learning in the gym is effective in competition. I
yeah,
think
exactly,
that's
exactly.
the big thing right
That's the
there.
biggest factor. That's the biggest factor.
All
You
right,
gotta
let's see
learn
this
the lessons.
question. All right, Sumu Choi. Okay, so let's go over here. It says,
No,
okay,
Tucker
he's
Lutz. Yeah,
fighting
he's
Tucker
fighting Pocket.
Lutz, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
he already fought Gavin Tucker, who is actually at Syndicate now with you guys, right? But I don't know if Tucker Lutz goes in there and wrestles Sumu Choi. I think Sumu Choi is gonna have a tough time, dude. Because it seems like whenever Sumu Choi fights a guy that he can strike with, he pieces them up. But once the
Oh,
grappling starts going through, that's when he's just like he's having some problems. Is Sungo Choi gonna go to Las Vegas or what? Have you heard anything?
I mean, I thought he was gonna make a move to Sanford MMA because that's where he was most interested with, and with the 50 grand that he made off of his
Yeah,
last bonus, I think he can do it. But and regarding Sting, I don't really handle him. Yes, he's part of Ruby Sports, but that's Daniel's fighter, not my fighter. I don't really talk to him. But based from what I hear and from what I see, I think he's gonna do his camp in Korea. But I wouldn't be surprised if he moves here to the States and does his camp here. And what
yeah,
was
I
the
think
question? How is the fight gonna go?
Yeah, it says, what
It's
do you
50-50 for Sting.
yeah, believe? I think if the thing is, like, there's a big hole in Sting's grappling. We know it. We've
Yes, a
seen
big
it.
hole.
A huge hole. Like, if he gets taken down and held down, he's not very good. Like, he gets drowned. Like, even Gavin Tucker, you know what I mean? Gavin Tucker showed you exactly how to beat Seung-Woo Choi. I think Seung-Woo Choi has the capability of like being like a Wonder Boy, but now you see Wonder Boy getting wrestled and dominated his last two fights,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like what the secret recipe is, going in there and wrestling Seung-Woo Choi. If you can
Hey,
do that, then you're gonna win the fight.
look, the thing is, Sting is more than talented. Like he has a
Yeah.
physical ability. I mean, the fucker is big. For a
Mhm.
145er, if you ever seen him in person, he's big for a 45er, 6 feet. He has one of the longest reach in the division. He can strike, that's for sure.
Yeah, and he got
I saw
power.
his last fight. I saw his last fight with Julian Erosa. I thought Erosa died from those hooks.
Mhm.
It felt like a bomb hitting his chin. And not to offend him, but obviously that's the biggest problem he has, and I don't think it's gonna be fixed in Korea. Like the
No.
level of wrestling and the level of pointers that they can give out in South Korea is more than limited. And I'm not even shitting on the coaches, it's just facts. Why do you think Jion Kim moved here? Why do you think the Korean Zombie moved out here? Kang Kyung-ho, one of the most talented fighter out of South Korea, lost to a Brazilian that he should have beat. Obviously, like I forgot his name, but he's one of the best grappler. But still, he was exposed in that fight. You know what I mean?
But
And
the thing is, like, Kang Kyung-ho has pretty good grappling though himself. Like, we've
yeah,
seen him
dude,
submit
if you see
guys.
him, bro, if you see him grapple like live, he's fuck. No one can submit him. Like
Yeah,
I've been to their gym like a couple of times. Like no one can touch him. He's untouchable. But even a guy like that,
his scrambles are good. But yeah, but he was held down that fight.
yeah.
Like he was taken down. That's the problem. Like, once he was taken down, Hani Yaya, or whatever his
Oh,
name is,
Rania Hadar.
yeah, he was able to just sit on top and just not let him get back up. Because if he was able to get back up, Kang Kyung-ho would have won that fight. It's just he couldn't
And
get back up.
Kang Yo Kang, actually, I saw him like 3 days before the fight. He had a major back problem,
Yeah.
like to the point where I thought he would have pulled out, but he had to make that fight happen. With Sting, I still think he beats Talk. What's his name? Tuk Lutz.
Yeah, Tucker Lutz.
Yeah, Tucker Lutz. I think he still beats Tucker Lutz in Columbus. But again, it's a 50-50 fight for Sting.
Yeah. Like, there's another question. Any update on Ognayun? Are they doing the rematch? Any chance in the future we see him in the UFC? I don't know. I don't think we see Ognayun in the UFC. I think he's gonna be he's gonna be with one championship forever. I
Yeah,
think,
forever.
like,
I think so.
once you become the champion there, like, the only champion that has ever went over to the UFC is Ben Askren, and they had to do a trade for him. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh
they
yeah,
had
with
they had
Demetrius
to trade.
Johnson.
Yeah, Demetrius Johnson and Oak.
It's almost
They're gonna do the rematch. I think they're gonna set up the rematch. I think that's what they're working on. I think Oak had a couple injuries from the fight. I remember I talked to him.
yeah,
I
yeah.
interviewed him after the fight. He had some kind of, I think his orbital had some issues, and who knows what else was wrong after the fight, right? Because that was a tough fight. That was 5 rounds. But yeah, I think they're gonna do the rematch early next year. We'll probably hear something soon, and after that, who knows what's gonna happen? But he's gonna be. I think he's fighter of the year. Like, who's done what he's done in that year?
That's crazy though. Yeah, he fought Eddie Alvarez off of 2 weeks quarantine and still beat him.
Yeah, like, he was pretty much unknown. Nobody knew who he was
Nobody knew him.
entering, except for people in Korea. And he goes in there into one championship, beats Eddie Alvarez, beats Murat Gafurov. Like, Eddie Alvarez is a legend of the one lightweight division. Murat
He
Gafurov is
made
the
it look
former
easy.
champion. He beats him,
Yeah.
and then he beats Christian Lee, like the guy that they felt like he was the face of one championship, basically, like unbeatable. Christian Lee beat almost everybody that he wasn't supposed to beat, and Oak goes in there
Oh,
and
he
beats
beat
him.
everyone except for Eddie Alvarez.
Exactly. So it's like he's gonna be there, man. I like him too. I like his style. Like, I like how he's just. I think he's only gonna get better, to be honest with you. Like, I don't think
Oh,
we've
dude, he
seen the
has he has
best
one of the.
version.
So even before he was signed to one championship, from Team Mad itself, they were saying like he has the highest IQ out of anybody else, and you can see
Mhm.
that in the fight. He fights really technically smart.
Yeah, it's just it's crazy, man. Like, what's going on, but yeah, with If you guys got any last minute questions, man, just bring them in. We're gonna shut this down in about 5 minutes. We'll do like a little hour. That's good enough. What else is there going on? Yeah, there's good next year. You know, I mean, Korea right now, it's like they're going through like a peak or whatever, a rise in COVID cases and everything, but they're still kind of keeping it open as much as possible. So they're still putting on shows. But you never know, man. One little change, shows could be shut down, right? Shows could be
Oh
over.
yeah,
No one's gonna,
I
you
wouldn't be
know, no one's
surprised
gonna.
if Road to Brave doesn't happen with the restrictions that's coming up right now.
Yeah,
And
it's
now that
you
I'm
gotta think.
vaccinated, they put the quarantine back there.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. Like what they're doing. I'm here, you know. What I mean, I don't really like. I work from home, so I don't really go out too much. You know what I mean? I go out and do this and that, but like I'm not trying to be outside all the time. You know, like I don't like. I don't want to work out with masks on and shit. Like that's not something that I want to
Yeah,
do.
people don't really know that John is pretty antisocial outside the
Yeah, like
interviews.
yeah, I'm not like I don't want to be talking to people and stuff. Right? That's not me.
Yeah.
Um. Let's see what else what we got here. Okay. I was pretty surprised when Buchecha submitted. I
Oh
wasn't
no, hell
surprised.
no. We
No,
weren't surprised. Jiwon
no.
Kang. Like, okay, I want to say one thing about this. People don't know that Jiwon Kang. Who was Jiwon Kang's last fight? The former Rising guy. He's from
Allah
Iran.
Akbari.
Allah Akbari. I was fucking surprised that Ali Akbari did not wrestle Jiwon Kang because anybody knows. Jiwon Kang, first of all, doesn't even have a sparring partner at his own weight class to do grappling.
Yeah.
Okay. Second of all, Buchecha is smarter enough. I mean, he's smart enough to know the fact that he should grapple with Jiwon Kang. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jiwon Kang
Well,
is
he had
more of a kickboxer.
exactly, and
He's more of a kickboxer.
I love Jiwon Kang. He is one of the. I think he's one of the like. He has a lot of promise, right? He just needs
Oh
good
yeah, yeah, yeah.
coaching and he needs good training partners. And if he develops in that way, he could be the champion for one championship for a long time. And
Yeah, but again,
he's yeah,
we're talking about the same factor over and over again, John.
yeah.
Like the Korean MMA has a problem of trying. Our problem is more than obvious. Like it's there, but it's a matter of are you gonna fix this?
Mhm.
Coaching, management, and then making the right path, right? Same as
And this
everybody
question
else.
is like, any chance he could go to? I wish he would go to the UFC. I hope because he's still young too. He's very young for a heavyweight, and you know heavyweights they fight until like they're almost 40, and I think he's like 26 or something like that. Very young
No, no,
guy
no,
for a
no,
heavyweight.
no. He's younger than me actually. He's 23.
He's 23, so he's fresh. He's like a baby for the heavyweight division.
Oh
I would
yeah, he's
love for him to
baby.
like fight his contract out. I would love for him to become a champion in one championship too. Don't get me wrong, but I would love to see him like fight in one championship, kind of get his experience there, and then go to the UFC and have a Korean heavyweight in the UFC, like
We've
as a
never had that.
contender. We've never had that. Like Jong Da-un is like the first light heavyweight ever in the UFC, Korean light heavyweight, and he's killing it right now, right? It's like we would need a heavyweight in you know like that. I think when you look at all the heavyweights that we've seen in Korea, like Korean heavyweights, Kang Ji-won is probably has the most potential out
Is the
of every
best.
single one, and he's
He's the
probably
best.
going to be the best.
He
You
was
know what I mean?
actually. I personally think he's better than Young Man, just MMA
No,
wise.
yeah, you know, man, he gets taken down. You know what I mean? Like he's not really getting back up, right? Even Kang Ji-won too, but he was fighting, you know, Puchecha, who's like one of the greatest grapplers of all time. Like there's a difference between like he was a good grappler to one of the greatest grapplers of all
One of the
time.
greatest man. That guy can double leg the fuck out of you.
Yeah. And he
So
trains at
especially in the
American Top
heavyweight.
Team. He trains at
Yeah,
American Top
exactly.
Team.
And you know, in the heavyweight, one single takedown means the world.
Yeah.
It's
I
almost
wish he
like
would have
Derek
talked to
Lewis fought
Buchecha.
DC.
I wish he would have talked to Buchecha and be like, "Hey, man, we should train together. You know, like let me go to American Top
Teach
Team.
me.
You know, yeah, go to American Top Team and think about it. How many? There's like 50 heavyweights at American Top Team. Like there's so many heavyweights at American Top Team. They're fighting each other. Like in the UFC, they're fighting each other. Like that's how many heavyweights they have.
Also, the other thing is Jiwon Khan. Never mind. But yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah, he is. I like him. I like him a lot. I think he has a lot of potential. Any last words, Kevin, that you want to say before we get out of here? We shut this down so we could
All right, so
get back
to
to
those
regular
two
life.
viewers that I need, all right. I just need 2 viewers, and I hope they know what I mean. I've been trying to make contact with them, but this is the only thing I can do.
Hmm.
John, I personally hope. I mean, 2020, 2021, I had a good run, made some history, but I hope 2022, the Korean fighters, I'm talking about the top level fighters, and even to my clients, realize that sitting down in a couch and hoping to make it to the UFC with a clean record is never going to happen. And I hope they don't really listen to me when I talk to them in person, but they kind of do watch my interviews and like how I talk to other people. So I hope it's honestly for them. I have nothing to do with this. You know me, John, from deep inside my heart, I wish all Korean fighters succeed, either they're my clients or not. I would watch any Korean fight internationally. So for anyone that has not made it yet, 2022 could be a lot more different if you guys make the right path move. And I can almost guarantee you South Korea could be the leading talent for MMA in 2022. So let's hope to see some new changes. Thank you, John. As usual, you're my only Korean buddy that I can discuss MMA with. Other than
And
that, they're all rats.
you know, with like shout out to like Kwon Wonir and Kim Jae-woong. You guys are killing it in one championship. I love
Oh,
seeing it. Extreme combat. You guys are doing really well. You know, a small gym,
hey,
but a lot of talent.
that's one gym I'll never fucking talk shit about. There's nothing they should fix. They should just continue on what they're doing.
Yeah,
They're
they're doing
fucking
their thing.
phenomenal. Jion Kim is my all-time favorite featherweight. I'm sorry, Taegin, but he's my all-time favorite featherweight from South Korea. And yeah, shout out to everyone. Anyone. I don't care if you're Ruby or
Yeah.
Iridium or fucking whatever.
Yeah, the
As
thing
long
is
as you're
like
fighting internationally.
work towards your goals. Everybody has different goals. So if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have a
yeah.
goal of going to the one championship, work toward those goals and do what
Yeah,
you need
work
to do.
towards
Don't
it.
just the thing that Kevin's trying to say is like don't just sit around. Work toward your goals. If you want to go to UFC,
Yes,
work toward
exactly.
that. If you want to go, if you want to open a gym and just be a fighter, don't talk about being in the UFC. Be real and say, I just want to fight locally and open a gym and have a business. You know what I mean? There's a difference between like saying it and doing it. And I think people need to realize that. 2022, I think a lot of Koreans are going to be on the map. You know what I mean? Taekyun Kim is doing his thing at Brave, Taun Jung, Junyoung Park, you know what I mean? Like Chesung-woo, Jion Kim, like all of these fighters, even the ones that are locally like fighting for Double G or Beast or whatever, they're all they need to take advantage of those fights and see
Yes,
where they can
exactly.
take them with those fights, get those wins. Because at the end of the day, a finish is good, but a win is better. You know what I mean? Because
Yes.
the record looks good, right? And you know, yeah, and improve yourself. I think that's the most thing we could get out of it. Improve yourself. Everybody that joined us in the chat, we might do this again like 6 months later. I don't know. This is just
And
something
then
we
see
just
how
did
far
real
we
quick.
came.
Exactly. But the 2 viewers, hopefully you guys are checking this out and
Andy
share
Hook,
it.
White man, I need you, dog.
Yeah. All
All
right,
right,
guys.
thank you so much, John.
Bye.
I'll see you again.